the Polish show on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Hello Irlandia w 103 i 2 Dublin City FM. Nasz głos na Zielonej Wyspie.
Dobry wieczór. Tutaj William. Witajcie na tygodniowym podsumowaniu polskiej wiadomości ze mną, Williama Murphy. Witam was bardzo serdecznie. Well, there really has been just one news story in both Poland and Ireland this week, and that's of course been the fight to contain the COVID-19 or coronavirus outbreak. We're joined this evening on Hello Irlandia from Poznan by Aleksandra Paukszta, who is a professional translator and tour guide, and whom listeners may recall we interviewed in Poland last year. Aleksandra will update us on the impact of the current coronavirus emergency on her city. Dobry wieczór, Aleksandra.
Good evening. Hi.
Thank you for joining us again, albeit under less enjoyable circumstances than when we met in your beautiful city last year. So, can you tell our listeners a little about the impact of coronavirus in Poznan? How are people in general coping with the COVID-19 threat?
So since last week, schools and universities are closed. Actually, in Poznan, the local government decided to close schools a day before the decision was made for the entire country. And of course, we already have some people who are in hospitals. One person here in Poznan died, so the situation is getting quite serious. Most people work from home if they can, and some also took different kind of leaves at work to be able to stay with their children. So the city is quite empty right now, quite different to what you saw last summer here.
Are people observing social distancing, which is one of the measures that's been imposed in Ireland? Is that being respected?
Yeah, I would say most people do observe social distancing. There are very few people in trams, buses, or even in the street. So, except some, minor incidents, people do observe what they are being asked by the government, and we'll see how it will continue.
Have there been any widespread signs of panic among the general public, say manifesting itself in the stockpiling of essential supplies? The shops have certainly been very busy in Ireland.
Yeah, shops have been quite busy in Poland, especially it was last week. I think people did panic last week. There were some fake rumors about shops maybe being closed in the near future, but right now it's slightly better, but people still tend to buy and stock lots of pasta, rice, and toilet paper. And in some stores, that has been limited, that one person can only buy up to, for example, 3 items, so that people don't stock.
Yes, it's been particularly unfortunate here, where people have been buying huge quantities and then leaving nothing for their neighbours, including the elderly. So some of the supermarkets in Ireland have introduced shopping hours, especially for senior citizens, say between 9 and 11 or 10 and 12 or whatever. So that's something useful that's being done in this country.
Okay, that hasn't been introduced yet in Poland, but I think could be introduced anytime soon because shops are very busy. So we are being told to social distancing, but actually shops are very crowded. So maybe that would be a good idea, especially for the elderly people.
So here, all childcare facilities, primary and secondary schools and third-level institutions are now closed. And I know this is also the case in Poland, actually earlier than it was in Ireland. This must be proving quite difficult, especially for parents required to go to work and with kids to mind. Are many people working from home where they possibly can?
Yeah, many people work from home. Actually, everyone who can work from home does it, and it's very challenging for parents. But I think it's also very challenging for people who still have to go to work. For example, factory workers who cannot work from home. Or another case is people who don't have a proper full-time job contract, but more like contract of mandate, and they are being paid for hours that they actually worked. For them, this is quite a difficult financial situation, and it doesn't look like it's going to get better soon.
Yes, and that's also been a feature of the situation here in Ireland. I imagine the impact on the cultural and tourist sector, which I know is quite important in Poznan, must be especially severe. Has there been a complete shutdown in that sphere in terms of tourist activity, cultural events, etc.?
Yeah, all the concert halls, cinemas, theaters, even bars and pubs are closed. And as the country borders have been closed, there are obviously no tourists. So both culture and tourism industries suffer a lot from the current situation. Some, like say, cultural institutions try to come up with quite innovative solutions. For example, you can watch theater plays from Poznań Theatre online or join, like say, different events kind of online. But of course, like the negative impact on these industries is getting bigger and bigger. And both culture and tourism workers are hoping that government will help them.
While in Ireland, as you're no doubt aware, we're especially fond, well, at least most of us are, of visiting pubs, which are now closed. I imagine all bars are also shut now in Poznan as well at this stage.
Here it's similar. Everything is closed, so it's quite difficult, especially like for people who work like different cultural institutions. So let's just hope that maybe new solutions will be found and the government will try and kind of help. And like, first of all, let's hope that the situation is over soon and this place will be open soon again.
In relation to the travel restrictions, I know the borders of Poland have been largely closed, but is public transport operating freely within the country? I know it's been discouraged in terms of making unnecessary journeys. Is it still possible to get around within the country if you absolutely need to?
Yeah, within the cities, the public transport has not been suspended, but there are fewer buses and trams. Also, some train connections have been cancelled, but only some of them. So if it's necessary, you can still get from one place to another, but it's more complicated than usually.
It must be a particularly difficult time for people with relatives abroad, whom they were planning to see, either by travelling abroad or having their relatives visit them in Poland. So I know many people would have planned to return home to visit from Ireland to Poland over the coming weeks and months, and people would also travel in the opposite direction. So it'll be hard for people who are not meeting their loved ones when they expected to.
Yeah, definitely. It's also difficult for Polish citizens who are abroad right now and struggle to go back to Poland. And the government has been criticized for giving such short notice regarding closing borders and cancelling all the international flights. So I think it is a difficult period for, as you said, like families being apart, but also people who are abroad and have to find a way to go back to Poland right now.
So what's the general view of the government's handling of the crisis so far? I know that Poland is perceived as having acted pretty swiftly. It was one of the first countries in Europe to reimpose border controls. Is that the general view there, or is there criticism of how it's been handled?
Yeah, so I think there are quite mixed feelings about how the government is handling the situation. Most people agree that such strict measures, such as closing schools, universities, so on, that was a good decision, even though it was a difficult one. In terms of, let's say, more medical part of the situation, sometimes you can hear people saying that maybe not enough coronavirus tests are being done, and that could be the case when there are so few cases in Poland so far. The real number could be much higher, but not enough tests are being done. Well, I think it's quite a complicated situation, and we'll actually see if the government's reaction was good or not later on, because it's not only in terms of purely medical, let's say, point of view, but also how they will handle the economy and so on. So right now, say, mixed feelings, mixed reactions, and we'll see later on.
So to finish on a positive note, what's your advice to people as to how they should make best use of any unexpected extra free time they may have? What are you doing yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a good moment to do all those things we never have time to do. So maybe nicer ones, like reading books or watching films, but also tidying our houses that we will be for weeks and months.
Tidying is not a good idea, Aleksandra. Tidying is not a good idea.
Well, if you get really bored, I think after some time it can be more fun than usually is. But personally, I have ordered some new books. Especially, I try to buy them at local bookstores and by smaller Polish publishing houses, because I also know that those businesses are really struggling a lot right now. It's good to combine me with my free time reading books and supporting them, because it's like all the bookshops are closed. The only way is now to order them online. And I think it's also a good moment to maybe, if we have some hobbies that we gave up some time ago, like playing an instrument or learning a new language, it's a good moment to come back to it.
Absolutely. Some good advice there indeed, Aleksandra. Jeszcze raz dziękuję Aleksandrze za pozwolenie czas tego wieczoru.
Dziękuję bardzo, thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo.
To wszystko na ten tydzień. Zapraszam na kolejne podsumowanie za tydzień o tej samej porze.